we had a big topic list to get through, and then a few minutes ago, Vanity Fair dropped a long story that's an interview with a series of interviews with the White House Chief of Staff, and it's kind of extraordinary. And the more I read it, and the more I read articles about it, the more I find is in the story. That's kind of jaw-dropping. It's already being compared to what you older members of the community will remember, David Stockman's famous interviews with the Atlantic magazine, in which he said a bunch of stuff that was true for the most part, and rang true for what David Stockman believed, but stuff he shouldn't have been saying on the record. And all the things that Susie Wiles is quoted telling Chris Whipple in a series of almost a dozen interviews, it all rings true to my sense of Susie Wiles, and most of it rings true to what someone would say, but it's not the kind of thing a White House Chief of Staff should say. So I had planned to start with Jim and with Kristen on Russia-Ukraine, because all week, for the last week, I've just been amazed at how little coverage this is getting. The fate of the planet hangs in the balance. These negotiations are taking place. I watched 25 minutes of cable news this morning from 6 a.m. to 6:25 on the Quad split. And while the BBC covered President Zelensky's speech in the Hague live, there was not a mention of Russia-Ukraine. I won't even bother to list for you all the other stories they covered, some of some significance, but then there was a story about the rescue of some whales, not being pro non-rescue of whales, mind you, but just kind of incredible to me. So I'm violating my own instincts and proclivities here and not leading with Russia-Ukraine because the Susie Wiles interview is so incredible. So here's just some of what's in it. Good morning to you two, Jim and Kristen. Thank you for being here. Either of you know Susie Wiles?
No.
I've met her, but I don't know her well.
Yeah. So I've known her a long time, and I think she's an incredible person, incredibly talented person. I find it hard to believe that these were on the record interviews. I'm not saying Christopher Whipple violated anything, but it's just kind of incredible what she said. Here's a picture that accompanies the story, and as you can see, it's an extraordinarily posed thing. That's not Annie Leibovitz, right? What's the photo credit on that? I don't know who it is, but there you see Susie at the center and some of the administration's leading lights, including the vice president, arrayed around her. That's kind of like one of the core group of advisors to the president. All right, let's get to what's in the interview. There's a bunch, but let's get to a little bit of it. Here's 122. Here's some of the stuff that's being spotlighted already that Susie Wiles told him over a series of 11 interviews. Ms. Wiles offered a pungent assessments of the president and his team. Mr. Trump has, quote, has an alcoholic's personality. I'll annotate. True. Vice President J.D. Vance has been a conspiracy theorist for a decade. True. And his conversion from Trump critic to ally was based not on principle, but was sort of political because he was running for Senate. I think true. Elon Musk, quote, is an avowed ketamine user. Said by many to be true. I have no firsthand knowledge. Quote, an odd duck. We all can see that with our own eyes. Whose actions were not always, quote, rational and left her, quote, aghast. Russ Vought, the budget director, is, quote, a right-wing absolute zealot. Jim Kennedy would say that's true. And Attorney General Pam Bondi, quote, completely whiffed in handling the Epstein files. Also true. We'll get to a few other things she says. She said the president had no idea that Maxwell was being transferred to a minimum security, less secure prison, and that he was annoyed by it, which seems odd because maybe he could have ordered her back. And she also says she tried to get the president to stop doing retribution against his political enemies, but he refused. Okay, Kristen, your initial reaction to all of this, how big a deal will this be in Washington? Implications, things that stand out to you?
Well, I mean, I think every consultant Politico group chat I have right now is popping off saying, "Oh my gosh, can you believe it?" How, you know,
yeah.
There are two different ways that this goes. I mean, this is someone who just a week ago the president said was the most powerful woman in the world, rightfully so. And so she is in a position of strength to, say some things that a lower staffer or, B-rate consultant couldn't get away with. I think there's two different ways it goes. So it's either, embraces it, moves on, goes to the next story, or we have to see kind of how the, internet MAGA world responds. That's typically, the two barometers here of when something like this happens with someone, in the admin there's the real world response, then there's the Twitter world response. And so really need to see in the next 2 hours which one is louder.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Jim. Before I go to you, Susie was also just named to like the Forbes top
Yeah.
most powerful women or some list like that, and everybody senior in the White House retweeted it and said, "Great, totally well deserved." The president loves her. She's gotten almost a year into this administration, extremely well liked, extremely well respected. So, as Kristen, you suggested, she didn't start this on thin ice, but it is an extraordinary series of things to say. Jim, your thoughts?
Well, Mark, the Stockman analogy is valid. That's when that phrase trickle down economics became
Yeah.
part of political vocabulary. And I think in her case, the price of her memoir, the price tag on her memoirs just went up. Although arguably she should save these comments for the memoir and not spill the beans now. I think the audience of one is valid here. What does President Trump think? That matters more than what any of us think. So we'll see. He'll probably telegraph something sooner than later, and it's remarkable.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.